Okay, I'm alone. That's great. This is okay. She's right here. She's gonna be here in a second. Bonjour, I'm Caroline Fontanieu. This is gonna be in English. I'm French, so bear with me with my accent. I can't see you, but you smell great. A little word about myself. I'm French. I live in New York. Oh, now I can see you. Hi. Oh, good. I run a label in New York called ECM. But one thing, one thing that I love more than anything in the world, and I think that's really my mission on earth, it's to make artists talk about themselves and talk about their art. I'm not an artist. I have no talent, but I love making people talk about themselves and their art. So it's an honor for me to be invited to do this today, and thank you for being here. Vocalist Al Jarreau said, "I'm scared of this lady's catting." Roy Haynes said, "She reminds me of Sarah Vaughan." Lou Donaldson said, "She's got a sound. She sounds like Gene Ammons." Wait, Gene Ammons plays sax, right? And Sarah Vaughan is a singer, right? But Camille Thurman can do everything. A sax player, vocalist, member of the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, band leader, composer, mentor, badass extraordinaire. She's making history one note at a time and released 6 months ago her latest project, Confluence. She'll be performing tomorrow at the festival, and it's an honor to have this conversation with you today. Hi, Camille Thurman.
McGill's in the house.
Let's get comfy. Let's get comfortable.
Sure.
We're here to just have a little conversation between friends, right? So the idea is to just we're gonna talk. We're gonna have a little conversation, and then we'll open the floor if you have any questions. If you have a question, if you have questions for Camille at some point in the middle of our conversation, please make yourself known. Just like scream and just, I want to say something, okay? But for now, we're just gonna chat a little bit, and then we'll open the floor for your questions. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Should we do that in French?
Oh, you don't want me to do that.
Okay, let's do it in English. Well, let's start with it. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Summer is busy.
Yes.
Summer is busy for touring musicians. Summer is busy for artists. Summer is busy for you. Mm-hmm. You just arrived in Montreal.
I sure did.
Where were you? Where were you before that?
Before that, we were on tour in the U.S. for about a week and a half. We started out in New York City with 2 nights at Dizzy's Club, and then we went on over to Wisconsin for 2 concert dates. And then we were in Chicago for 4 nights, and then we went to Cincinnati, Ohio for a night, and here we are.
Well, welcome to Montreal. It's great to have you here. I speak as a Montrealese, but I'm not. But it's okay. You like Montreal, right? It's a place that you feel good.
Yeah, I've made it home.
Yeah.
For the last 4 years.
Yeah, you come here often, so it's like playing at home. It's nice.
Yeah.
Let's start with the beginning, shall we? I want to start with asking you your earliest memory of music. Mm-hmm. Do you remember a time, but maybe a time where you were like, wow, this is something that speaks to my heart?
Yeah, my earliest memory was when I was about 3-4 years old, because my mother and my father would always play music in the house, and I would hear music and I would see the color. I didn't realize that I had perfect pitch and that it was manifesting via synesthesia. But it wasn't until I picked up an instrument at 12 did I realize, oh, the pitches have names, not just colors. And I always remembered how the songs would make me feel and what color I would see. So that's my earliest memory.
What was your favorite color to hear?
E flat.
What color is E flat?
I would say indigo. Yeah.
So do you have a memory of one song or one thing that just like was calling your heart and just like showing you indigo all over?
I just remember like my mother, she was one of those parents that just had me into everything. We lived in New York City. So there was always a festival or some type of market or something happening. And when you're a kid, it's easy to fill up your calendar with your parents and having activities because there's always stuff going on. So she would always take me to, they had this African Street Festival in Brooklyn. And it was like a festival where all these vendors would come, and at night would be the concerts. So we would stay all day. And my favorite part was the nighttime because you get to see the concerts and the lights are flashing, the music's playing. And I remember the first time I saw Noel Pointer, he had a blue violin and he was jumping up and down and playing. Wow. And I had just started playing violin and I was like, I want to do that. Wow. I want a blue violin. I want to do that. But just the memory of being outside, hearing the music and going to sleep at night, hearing the music and seeing the stars, it just really kind of created this special memory of just associating sound and feeling and color together.
And New York City, I mean, born and raised, it's such an amazing place for music and culture in general. Yeah. But you said that you picked up the instrument at 12, and that was violin first?
Well, my first instrument I picked up was, I think it was at 6, the violin. And I only studied it for a year. Well, they offered it at my school. Okay. And I had a great teacher by the name of Miss Young, and she taught us via the Suzuki method. And I loved it. I was so fascinated. I was telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, this is the rosin and the rosin.
Wait, can you explain what the Suzuki method is for those who don't know?
So the Suzuki method is, it's basically they teach you by ear. And they take you note by note with ear, showing you how to play the instrument. Wow. And I loved it. They taught me a couple of songs I could play without reading music because we had the fingerings and we could hear the pitches, and it was great. And then I would say a year after taking the class, Miss Young, she had to leave the school because they took away the music funding. So we had no violin lessons, no music, no arts. And I was devastated. I didn't pick up another instrument until I was about 12.
And that's when you picked up the saxophone?
The flute, then the sax.
First the flute. Mm-hmm. Why the flute?
Well, I had to negotiate with my band teacher. Mm-hmm. I wanted to play the trumpet, but I was in a car accident and I had stitches in my lip. So he was like, you can't play trumpet because your mom will kill me if you bust your lip again. Right. So then I asked him to play flute. He was like, nope, we already have 50 million flutes. Clarinet. He was like, nope, we already have 50 million clarinets. So he's like, but I do need a trombone player. And I was like, because, here I am. I mean, I was like, 3 feet, 4 inches. The trombone is as big as me. And I was like, no, I can't ride on the subway with the trombone. They're going to make fun of me.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I was like, that's not cool. And he gave me the instrument, and I quit after a week because a spitball came into when I inhaled, I was like,
oh, God.
And that was the end of my trombone career.
Okay, short but sweet, or not that sweet.
Yeah, but then after that happened, he said, okay, I'll give you a flute. You'll have to teach yourself some of the fingerings because we were already 3-4 weeks in the class. Mm. And I taught myself.
Did you like it?
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. At that time, there was that movie, Mr. Holland's Opus, and I was like, I want to be like that person on the stage playing an orchestra, the flute, and I loved it. Anything that had to do with figuring it out, I was just excited and ready to okay, let's figure it out.
And then saxophone.
Yeah, that came, I would say, in 7th grade. And he reluctantly gave me that too. But what was cool about it was my mom, she's a school teacher, and she would always confiscate stuff. So yo-yos. One day it was a mouthpiece. And I thought it was a clarinet mouthpiece. But come to find it was a saxophone mouthpiece. And I begged my teacher, I said, please give me I want a clarinet. Because I remember the solo from Mr. Holland's Opus and the clarinet is playing. I was like, I want to play clarinet too. And he was just like, no, Thurman, you just got on the flute. Let's just stick with one instrument at a time. But he saw that I was just so excited and interested. And he was just like, if you play the flute, you play the clarinet and the saxophone, you can make a career playing in Broadway. And nobody ever told me that. I didn't even know that was possible. And my eyes just was like, I want to do that.
This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Were you singing already? I'm sure you were singing as a kid, but...
Yeah, I was singing as a kid, but I kept it as a secret because when I got to high school, I started playing the tenor saxophone. And, you're hanging out with the band, and I was the only girl with the band. And I remember a grown adult came by and was like, oh, so you're the singer in the band. And I was like, well, I do sing, but I do have a saxophone right here. And I felt like, is there something that people see or think before even having a conversation as to your gender and the instrument that's next to you? So I just made a promise to myself, don't tell anybody you sing, even though you do, just don't, because you got to prove yourself as a player. And in my head at 13 years old, it was like, do the extreme opposite.
Yeah.
Okay, you think I'm a singer? I'm going to be the baddest saxophonist in the world. That's what I was thinking in my head.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, like, I don't know if there's a lot, but there's often stories of musical career. Obviously, you need to be talented, but musical career that start like this, like as an accident or encounter with an instrument that just it's love at first sight or something like that. But like, there's something we obviously gonna talk a lot about. I don't know, but we're gonna talk about it. It's just being a woman and being a girl, you know, and in a boys only band and an orchestra, and it must have been difficult to just like take your space, right? Yeah,
I mean, in the beginning, because you don't see anybody that resembles you, so you don't know what to do. You don't know how to act. You don't know how to breathe. You don't know how to even just touching an instrument. Like, okay, what am I supposed to sound like? You look around the band room and you see only photos of men on these instruments. Yeah. So there's nobody you identify with. And for me, thank goodness I found Dexter Gordon at 12, 13 years old, because that was the closest thing I could gravitate to. Even though he was a man.
In terms of sound?
In terms of just, in general, what I heard the instrument could do. I appreciated how he sounded like he was 10 feet tall. So even though he wasn't a woman, that was the quality that I wanted.
Do you remember the time you heard him for the first time?
I was 12 or 13, and it was in jazz camp. And I just got the tenor. My mom and my band teacher made me play the tenor because I got a scholarship to camp. And that was our deal. I had to play it. And I remember the teacher played a LP, the record of Second Balcony Jump on the album Go. And the sound just blew my mind because I knew he had the qualities that I wanted. I wanted to be confident as a player. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to be witful with my lines. I wanted to sound like I was 10 feet tall. So even though I was, physically under 5 feet, I wanted people to close their eyes and I wanted to sound just as big and confident like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at jazz camp, there was other girls or?
Maybe 2 other
Not
ones.
Really, yeah. But we're going to talk, of course, about representation. But at that time, I mean, there was a female, like, jazz musician, but there were singers. Some were playing piano. I'm thinking like Blossom or Nina, or but who did you look up to at that time besides Dexter, of course? Well, was there women that you were just like, she can do it, I can do it?
That's the thing. When the time that I came up, this is pre-internet. It was just starting to get its thing going. So there were some books, but it was like little bits of information you would find that maybe somebody documented about some women. It wasn't like today where you have all of these resources and information that's kind of just being pulled out. So I didn't see a woman playing the saxophone until I was about maybe 15. That was Virginia Mayhew, an album that I accidentally found in a library. And then I didn't meet an actual woman, like person to person. So I was in college.
Wow.
So that whole time, I was always wondering, like, well, what does a great musician who happens to be a woman look like, sound like? How does she carry herself? I didn't really know. I mean, the only things that I knew were the things that I was inspired by from Dexter. I, of course, was listening to Sarah and Ella. I was jumping on my bed, pretending I was them, learning all their solos and scatting along, as well as the Mariah Carey stuff too.
Of course.
But
of course.
But I think somehow I knew within hearing the music there were things that I couldn't articulate, but I knew that I needed inside. That in listening to it, I was finding my way of just trying to grasp, even though I didn't know what it manifested like.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Did you did you get any sexism? Do you have to do, I'm sure, but did you have like in the band, in the orchestra, like as a young instrumentalist?
Totally. I mean, I went to a performing arts high school, which was very competitive. And competition's good, but during this time, this was pre-Me Too, there were maybe 4 of us in the band, and I remember when we got into the band, it was made very clear from the beginning from the guys, we don't want you here, we want our buddy here, you suck, straight up in your face. And it wasn't a type of polite thing, oh yeah, okay, we'll work with you, and yeah. No, it was in your face. I mean, I remember it was so bad. We had a clarinetist who was subbing for the principal clarinetist in the New York Philharmonic, and she was a senior in high school.
Wow.
She was bad. And she just wanted to learn how to play saxophone for the pure enjoyment, so our teacher allowed her in the band, and they basically stole her mouthpiece so she wouldn't play in rehearsal. It was things like that. Or I remember...
That's bullying. That's just like...
It was straight up sexism and bullying all wrapped up in one for 2 straight years. So,
I'm sorry. That's tough.
Well, I mean, it's part of the journey. I mean, I think if I didn't experience those things, it wouldn't have made me into the player that I am today. But also to have the empathy and understanding of how to relate to other young musicians who identify as women.
Yeah, I really want to talk about your mentorship, like the way you're being a mentor also for younger generation, and we're probably going to talk about it with you all after. But how do you see younger generations today, like young female or identifying as female instrumentalists today, who are like 12, 15, 20, and they're obviously the vibe is a little different.
It's very different. I mean, it's getting better just because there's an awareness now and an acknowledgement of, hey, there are women who have been here long before us, and they're documented, and here's some video clips, here's some photos, here's their personal essays, here's, some interviews, which wasn't quite as widely accessible when I was coming up. I mean, I do remember my mom played a video of the International Sweethearts of Rhythm, which was great because I got to see firsthand, wow, this was like a all-women band, and this is what they sounded like, looked like, this is how they spoke, this is how they carried themselves. But today, I would say there's so much information available, which is great. And the conversational spaces are being made to talk about these things, which is wonderful. I mean, for my generation, we just went through it alone. There was no conversational space to talk about it and say, hey, what do you do when you're in a band and you feel like you can't make a mistake? Or what do you do when you're trying to improvise, but your peers are making fun of you? How do you go back the next day and try again? Or, okay, I want to play this instrument, but a teacher is making me feel uncomfortable with how I'm playing it physically because of how I look. So we just kind of dealt with it and didn't really have any space to have a conversation, whereas now we have the internet and we could be able to have those conversations.
Yeah, which is great, but that was hard for you.
Yeah.
And representation. I mean, there was not. I mean, there were magazines. Of course, we didn't have Instagram and
right.
Magazines and clips on TV and the radio, where you just like can hear or see someone and be like, wow, this person looks like me, or I look like this person. Did you have any type of like model, like people like this that you look up to?
I did. I mean, of course, it was Dexter. It was Sarah. And
Sarah played piano too.
She did.
Yeah.
She was the second pianist in Earl Father Hines' band.
Did you know?
But yeah, of course, Sarah. I mean, when I saw her, I saw somebody that was just so talented and confident, but sure of herself. But and it flipped my mind when I started talking with other musicians on the scene much older and reading and hearing documentaries how she was very shy too, or she wasn't really confident about who she was as a person and how she looked. And the same with Ella, hearing many years later, yeah, Ella was shy too. Yeah, Ella had, issues with how she saw her body. It blew my mind, like, they're human. They went through the same things that we all go through, except at that time, it was even harder.
Yeah. Did you have a feeling at some point where you're just thought, I want to be someone that younger generations can look up to? I mean, it sounds very pretentious like this, but like, did you have this kind of mission in mind too, or something that inspired you to provide the younger generation something that you didn't have?
I think the biggest thing that was eating at me was if I could make sure that nobody had to feel alone or experience what I went through coming up.
Yeah.
I want to make sure whoever interacts with me has the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And is able to feel welcomed. Because I know what it feels like to not feel welcomed, or to be told that you don't belong. I want them to know they belong, or they have a space, or to be able to understand that there is a place for you in this music. And that it's not something that just you either have it or you don't. It's in many ways it can be at times, but a big part of it is the work that you put in, but also not allowing people to tell you what you are or not. And I firsthand have many experiences of memories of dealing with that in my mid-teens, my early 20s, and it was just mentors who were able to swoop me up at that time and say, okay, we're going to put you here because you need to be in this space so you could be fed and nourished artistically.
So who are your actual, who are your actual mentors, the actual encounters that just like changed your life and supported you into becoming who you are?
Sure. Tia Fuller was the first one. I met her in college, and I remember her and my college professor had an intervention with me because I was a geological science major in college. Shout out to her for science.
Wow. Yeah. Respect.
And I remember they pulled me aside after a rehearsal and were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm getting a degree in dirt and rocks, and my parents are going to be happy because I'm going to be a teacher just like them, and they're going to be super proud."
So you were not thinking about a musical career at that moment?
I was thinking of either being a volcanologist or just a science teacher.
And play on Sundays.
Well, I didn't think I had a chance in making a career as a musician.
I see.
I didn't know if it was possible. And then from what I experienced in my last 2 years of high school, I was like, I don't know if I have what it takes to make it. Because my spirit was completely broken by the time I graduated. I actually stopped playing for about almost a year or so.
Wow. And you met Tia?
Yeah, I met Tia in college, and they were just like, "You should be playing." And Tia was like, "Why aren't you doing this?" I was like, "Well, because I don't know if it's possible. Who's doing it?" And she looked at my face and was like, "I'm doing it." And I was like, "You got a point there." But that's when it clicked for me, because it was like, wow. And I looked around. I remember in a rehearsal looking around, and she was playing and sounded so good. And it was like very clear. It was very confident. And both men and women, they respected her off of just what was coming out of the instrument. There was no conversation of like, "Well, I'm going to size you up before you play because you're a lady." No, it's just like, okay, she spoke, she played,
right,
case closed.
Right.
And I saw that, okay, she's making a living doing this. She's able to take care of herself as a woman and have a career and be able to thrive and live as a musician versus the starving musician myth. And it kind of just clicked for me that, okay, there is a space for me to give it a try.
Are you still in touch?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's like my big sister.
Yeah, that's amazing. I want to talk about the Haven Hang and the mentorship, but I just thank you for that. It's important. And we backstage, right before we got on stage today, we were having this conversation about, I mean, it's not the only angle of this conversation, and we don't want it to be the only angle of this conversation. How does it feel to be a woman? No, but it's just also things are changing. Yeah. And I was sitting on this stage 2 days ago, being a part of a panel about women in music. It was more the industry side of it, but things are changing a lot. And 10 years ago, you as an instrumentalist, performer, me in the industry, we kind of wanted to not highlight the fact that we were a woman. We wanted to be seen as a professional. It didn't matter if we were, what our gender was.
Right.
And today there's something to take pride in, but also like, yeah, we are women, so we're gonna have to, I mean, it's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how things are changing. So yeah, that was just a parenthesis, but it's just interesting how things are really evolving. And feminism and activism is a work in progress, right? It's never, you don't become feminist overnight. You don't become an activist overnight. And it's just finding the right balance between those things.
Yeah, I think it's everybody's personal journey. I mean, for me, I had a different experience because I had been in circles where it was like, yeah, we're women and we're players. Yeah, but it was still exclusive in terms of the intersection of race and gender.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother conversation. I think it's really about your personal journey. For my personal journey, I had a group of big sisters that I was fortunate to meet at the time that I needed to meet them in my early and mid-20s. Yeah. And I learned a lot from them just by seeing their example. I saw that they carried themselves in a way where they were confident and they were sure, and they shared stories with me like, yeah, I wasn't always like this. I used to come to jam sessions and wear baggy clothes because I was scared that somebody wouldn't listen to me. So I purposely muted myself to be heard. Yeah. Don't do that. And those conversations were helpful for me because then it was like, okay, so it's okay to maintain a piece of yourself and of your true identity without having to be fearful of how it affects people hearing you. But then also, for me, it was tricky because I'm a vocalist and a saxophonist. So at that time, I didn't see other young people who were doing both that were also women. Yeah. And it was tricky. It's like, well, okay, vocalists are out front, but horn players, they could be here, or they could be here, or they could be there. How do you do both at the same time? What does that look like? How do you carry yourself?
What does that look exactly? We were talking about clothing earlier. We're just saying like singers are expected to expected. I don't know, but like sometimes we see them in front stage wearing this glitter, you know, like amazing dresses. And if you're an instrumentalist part of the orchestra, you're more in the back and just wearing clothes that you don't notice. Were you having conversations with those big sisters about gender and race?
Not directly, but conversations would just naturally manifest around it. It wasn't intentional. I do remember when I first got on the scene, they shared some stories with me. And they were like, well, you know, some people believe in, yes, the feminism thing. But then they were like, well, based off of their personal experiences, they weren't necessarily welcomed. And they were a female in a female type of, you know, cultured environment. So the biggest thing I got from them was, look, just come in and just be the best that you can be as an instrumentalist, because that's going to trump everything. If you can come in and kill it on your instrument, or if you can come in and kill it as a vocalist, you know your songs, you know your keys, you know your lyrics, you're coming in with your own individual artistry, but at the same time, still maintaining a professionalism that gives you an understanding of how to work with the group, but still have that balance of setting your own mark, you're going to be fine. And that was the best advice they gave me, because it kept me from being in here just dealing with
but it's still like double the work, because you have to prove yourself constantly. You have to work harder to show that you're as good, if not better.
Yeah, and then many times it did feel like that. Yeah. Or sometimes you're like, man, I know I did the work. And it's like, well, the reality is nobody's going to kiss you and say, great job. No, you should just show up, come back, and keep doing it. And the biggest thing I learned was the importance of the community. Yeah. Because when I first got on the scene in New York City, I was taking every gig, any and every gig, whether it's jazz or not jazz, it didn't matter, because I knew I needed the experience. But that also created a network for me to get to know and see musicians in different scenes, but also see those same musicians overlapping. And then I started to realize, oh, wow, even though we didn't talk, there were some guys who had my back and were like, no, she could play, give her the gig. Yeah. Even though I might not have been there in the conversation or heard it, just those little things of being able to, hey, how you doing? Glad to see you here. It's just like, oh, okay, there is a community here of people who do respect you for what's coming out of your instrument.
Is it something specific to the New York scene, this sense of community, or is it everywhere?
I think it's everywhere, but in New York, you really, really learn about that community and see it because you have to deal with it. Whether it's a session, whether it's a gig, even if you're trying to get on the gig, you have to deal with that community and getting to know those people and then getting to understand it's more than just I sound good. It's really about those relationships that you develop and also that consistency that you're building as a musician. Can you come in every time and kill it? Every time.
And so people are like, oh yeah, I know this person. She's killing it. Yeah.
Or can you kill it, but it's every once in a blue moon? You start to kind of really see the things kind of filter out. Yeah. And it's like birds of a feather flock together. If you're trying to be really good, you hang out with those great musicians because they have a standard that they're always trying to keep. That eventually becomes your practice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So those big sisters were here for you, and then you decided to create this mentorship system of like the Haven hang. Can you talk to me about it?
Yeah. Well, it was actually the big sisters and the big brothers. And during the pandemic, I was thinking about it sitting at home, just like many musicians not working.
Bored.
Yeah. And I was thinking, at first I was feeling really bad because I was like, man, I really love playing music and sharing it with audiences, and it really sucks just being alone. But then, and on top of that, when the pandemic started, I literally just got off of a tour with the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra. We were out for like 4 or 5 weeks. So there's tour withdrawal is real.
Yeah.
Because you're around people all the time to being around nobody. Then on top of that, the pandemic happening, it felt like...
It's awful.
Like you're about to lose your mind.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, whoa, what just happened? We were just communing and fellowshipping. But anyway, I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, never mind feeling bad for yourself. What about all those, young musicians, particularly young women, who now don't get to play? And then I started thinking, in my experience, I remember when I was on tour with the orchestra, I had so many young women reaching out to me, just in my inbox, on social media, sharing stories, asking questions, the same questions that I had when I was 15, 16. And it just kind of clicked. I was like, okay, there needs to be some type of space where dialogue could happen. Because if this is 15 years later and they still have these questions, that means there's no space. Yeah. So maybe I should try to create it.
It needs to be created, yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't even about, I want to create this space. It was just like, no, we just got to.
It needs to exist.
Yeah, make it happen. And it just started with a simple post. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing called a Haven Hang for women who identify as women and musicians. Email me your questions, shoot a text, whatever, and I'll put it together. This is the day. Be here on Zoom, and I'll go through them. And it was like 20 questions from women all over the world. But it was a beautiful experience because it brought together not just women musicians, it brought together women from all backgrounds, from all age ranges, and also even brought in some of the men too.
Interesting.
Because then some of them were inboxing me like, wow, I didn't know that this was what y'all deal with when you're 13, 14, 15. Band teachers were coming and telling me this. Like, man, thank you so much for sharing this insight. Now I have a better understanding of how to keep my kids together. And it became almost like an educational thing for everybody to see how developing as a young musician who happens to be a woman, the process of it, how to develop confidence, how to develop courage, how to practice, how to get over the fear of making mistakes, how to be comfortable with how you present yourself and not have to be stuck thinking about all the other things that don't deal with the music, but finding a way to get to the music and still be comfortable. All those, even to how to tour on a tour with a bunch of guys when you're dealing with your monthly. How do you feel like you're not crazy? But those kind of questions that you don't get to ask, it became that space.
Amazing. And I'm sure you learned so much from it too. That was not just you providing answers. That was also,
it brought together so many people.
I'm glad you did that. Congrats. That's really great.
Thank you.
You mentioned the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, and I want to talk about this experience a little bit. You're making history, man.
Yeah.
You're the first woman in 30 years to record, tour, and perform with this orchestra. Congrats.
Thank you.
How did this connection happen? English is hard. How did this connection happen? I mean, did it?
Well, I think it was just a combination of a few things along the way that I just didn't know was going to lead to. I met Victor Goines when I was 13, going to high school behind Lincoln Center, LaGuardia High School. And I remember he gave me one of my first lessons for free. He was like, "Come on up and I'll give you a lesson."
The fame,
That's it. I went.
Were you dancing on the tables and stuff?
No, that didn't happen during those times.
I always wonder if it was like that.
No.
Sorry, I interrupted.
That was a hipper school. But I remember he gave my first lesson when I was 13. And then Vincent Gardner I met when I was 15, playing in the Jazz Standard Youth Orchestra. I met him and his brother. And then I remember meeting Kenny Rampton. I think I was either coming to school or coming from school. So it was like these little bits and pieces of crossing with people. And then I ended up meeting Sherman through my husband, Darryl Green, who worked with him at one point. And Sherman had called me, this is many years ago. He was like, "Hey, I know you play saxophone, I know you sing, but I got some music that's tricky. It's not like traditional vocal music. I think you could do it." I was like, "Okay." And that stuff was hard, but it was so fun.
Wow.
And I did the gig, come to find out, went and came to the gig. And he came backstage and was just like, "Do you play clarinet?" And I said, "Well, I have experience. Is it my favorite? No. But I'll read some parts down for you." And he's like, "You play flute too?" I was like, "Oh, yeah." And he's like, "Okay." Within like 6 months, I got the call when I was on tour in Cameroon from Walter. And he was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about leaving the orchestra for some period of time, for a whole season. It's never been done before. And Wynton and I thought of you right away. And we want to know, are you available?"
Damn, no pressure.
And this was in the middle of like all of that stuff going on with, we need blind auditions, the women's thing. So on one hand, I was super happy and shocked, like, whoa, this came out of nowhere. But on the other hand, I was like, whoa, I'm in the middle of this whole storm of like the cultural coming moment. Yeah. And the beauty of it was I didn't have to audition because they knew from my record from working with other people within the orchestra, they made a decision collectively to say, "Hey, let's give her a chance. Let's have her do it." And it wasn't like they played with me extensively. It was just like, "No, we want her." We did a few gigs here, but that's why I always tell my students, whenever you perform with people, be on your best behavior and do your best because you never know who's watching. And that was a classic situation of a couple of people saw me throughout my journey and then made the consensus, okay, let's give her a chance. And then one season turned into 2 seasons.
There you go. Not naming names, but was there anyone being like uncomfortable with the fact that there was?
No, the whole band, they were like my big brothers. It was so funny because we'll be on tour, and I'm from New York City, so I'm used to just like, okay, if I'm gonna go out and do it, I'm gonna go out and do it.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of Europe somewhere, and I just had my little pouch. I'm going to run my errands, and Wynton was like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm gonna go run some errands." And he stopped because he was coming in with somebody. He's like, "Hey, you, go with her." I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm from New York City." He's like, "No, you're a lady. You need somebody with you." But it was that kind of relationship. It was one big family, and they were so supportive. I mean, they knew that the task that I was being asked to do, there was no instruction manual for it because it hadn't ever been done before. And that's a lot of music and a lot of errors to cover stylistically. Yeah. So they had, they trusted me, and they were so supportive and loving. And then, of course, because I sung, they're like, "Okay, yeah, let's throw her on this. Let's have you sing on this." Or, "Okay, let's have you play on that." And
so fun.
It was great.
Technical question, but like, does singing teaches you things for playing or vice versa?
Totally.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, singing is the first instrument, the human voice, and we deal with phrases. We deal with melodies and phrases, and we have to think about the air and the breath,
breathing,
complete phrases. So when we're playing or when we're singing a melody, we're thinking about the phrase in its entirety, the shape, how it feels, the flow of the air, and then also the little nuances of where we give a little bit more, where we give a little bit less, the ends of the phrases, how we taper it, how we pause the air. Instrumentalists, we push buttons, or we just kind of, so we don't really think about those nuances because by nature, the instrument is external. So that's become something that we have to make ourselves aware and teach ourselves
with the horn,
to do.
you still have to deal with those.
You still do,
though.
but there's still nuances as a vocalist. You'll miss completely, even just dealing with sound. How you could take one note and sing it so many different ways. Yeah. To do that on an instrument, you really have to do that. Yeah. Because you're just used to it's there, bam, it's there. Well, no, it's how you do it. And then vice versa. As a singer, there's things that we do that's shaped for the phrase, but there's some linear phrases that we're not familiar with, particularly when we're dealing with interval jumps and shapes that we kind of have to teach ourselves because it might not be laid out in the manner that we're used to it flowing for our voice. Mm-hmm. So like sometimes I'll get, like I did a project called The Ever Funky Lowdown with Winton, and those vocal parts were insane because you're dealing with voicings that are really close, but then some of the lines are very leapy, and then you're dealing with tempos, and then on top of that, syllables. So then for us, it's like, man, this sounds like it would work great on an instrument, but now I got to redefine my instrument to figure out how to make it work for voice. And then vice versa, when you're dealing with something that's sung with the voice, how do I recreate that on a horn?
It's fascinating. Love that. I want to talk a little bit about your latest project and your band and your partner and husband. So you released 6 months ago a new album. Congratulations. It's always exciting. With Daryl Green, who happens to be your husband.
Yeah.
How is it to tour, write, record with your life partner?
Well, it's actually really fun.
When it's the right person, it's the right
when it's the right person. I think it's important to find somebody that really supports what you do, that has a vision that aligns with what you're trying to do and what they're trying to do, and just really 100% support each other. Yeah. That's how it works. Yeah. So
you recorded this album, Confluence. That was recorded in, well, first of all, it's called Confluence Alhambra Volume 1. Yes. So it means that there are going to be other volumes.
There will be other volumes.
Cool, that's good news. So what's the concept behind this album?
Well, Confluence is the coming together of people. And I come from a geological environment science background. So I was thinking about the coming together of waters, the coming together of people when we have concerts. And we wanted the album to be a representation of almost like a snapshot sonically of the band in a live setting. And at the same time, while we were on tour. Yeah. And the Alhambra was one of those historic places that was close to the concert hall that we were performing at. So we almost kind of wanted it to be like a Carmen Sandiego concept. So this is our concert.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, Carmen Sandiego, she was like an international criminal. Okay. But it was like a cartoon show where like she would steal landmark items from continent to continent, and the gumshoes would be the detectives having to chase her country to country. Love it. Okay. And then by the end of the show, you'd find Carmen, throw her in jail, and take back all the. So not in that extreme sense, but I wanted to be like each album is like a
postal card.
A postcard, yeah, like a sonic postcard. Where this is where we were, this is what makes that place special, but with it, the concert and the music, the memory of the songs.
So that was recorded in one venue? And those are tracks from one night?
For the most part, about 3 different venues we did in Spain.
Okay, yeah. With different sounds, I'm sure, different acoustics, different...
And that's why we have one of the best sound engineers in the world who made it work and sound like one giant concert.
Yeah. I mean, sound engineers are definitely another band member.
Oh, they work
magic. Shout out to
that's
those
right.
magicians. And so that was after you played those gigs that you decided to take some of those tracks and make it an album, or did you have it in mind when you played?
We just decided, let's record everything. And then when we sat down, we were like, man, that sounds really good. And the way it was recorded, it really captures the essence of the concert.
Nice.
So we just picked out some of our favorite songs and said, okay, this will be a memorabilia of our tour in Spain. Let's put this as the first one. And then the second one, well, we'll see where the next tour takes us.
Can you tell us?
Not now. Soon.
That's teasing. Talk to me about the band.
The band, I have to say, I'm one of the luckiest ladies in the world because the guys in this band, they're all incredible musicians in their own right. And to be able to tour today in this day and age with a consistent band is a blessing. And these guys, we've been touring together consistently for the last 5 years, down on 9/14. And there's something about having a band, because it's like you have a relationship that it goes beyond the words and the notes. You're instinctually able to just make music, and it's undeniable. The bass chair is Paul Beaudry. On the trumpet is Wallace Rooney Jr. On the piano is Jordan Williams, and then of course Daryl on drums, and myself on voice and saxophone.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great album. If you don't know it, listen to it.
Thank you.
It is. I'm not saying that because I love you, but I like it. And do you have any pre-show rituals with the band or on your own?
Oh,
that's a question that I love to ask, because it's fun to imagine the artists that we see on stage do their little things.
You know, it's funny. We don't, because most of the time it's like you're trying to get everything together to the last minute to go on stage and hit. Because I will say, like, today's musician, you are like the band manager, you're the tour manager, you're the publicist, you're the social media poster. You write the music, you're trying to arrange, you're trying to do all these things. And so you're lucky if you have a minute to be able to woosah and then go on stage.
Right.
And after, of course, getting yourself together too.
What's the process of building a set list, or how do you work with Daryl on because it's presented as his band.
It's our band.
Yeah, but like you get together before and you get on the set list, or how does that work?
Well, everything that we play, we work together on the arrangements, the concept, the tunes, the repertoire, and the set list. I'll be honest with you, a lot of times that doesn't manifest to the last 5 minutes before we go on stage.
Good, that's the best.
Because, I mean, every night is different and every audience is different, and you want to respect the energy that you're getting. So you want to take a second to see, okay, who's out there? Who do I see out there? Right. What are the songs that are going to hit the people that I see the most? And what are some things that, okay, it might not be something they might like, but how can I bring them over? And you're not going to know until you look out at your audience. So that's when we do it.
How is it different to play in a festival setting versus a club?
Club is more intimate. It's almost like they're in your living room, the audience. So there are some moments that you might be able to have on a very close, intimate level that might be harder on a festival. But then again, that doesn't mean there aren't intimate levels.
No, of course.
On a festival. It's possible.
And it's even more fun when you create a moment. Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you're dealing with the festival, you're outside in the element, which is great because the energy is so live. And it's not like you're in a space where it's contained. It's just like it's all in front of you.
Right.
But what's beautiful is like when you get them in the palm of your hand, it's like you feel like you're in a room together. And the concert is just you just immersing yourself in the music and just taking them on a journey.
Yeah, I'm excited for the show tomorrow. A question that I like to ask sometime is, what is the best setting do you think is, I don't know, I'm going to end this sentence. I started in a very weird way. Okay, I'm going to try again. What, according to you, is the best setting to listen to your music? Let's talk about this album, for example.
Okay.
Like, would you like it to be in a car in the rain? Do you think people should listen to it on their couch with headphones, with a good glass of wine? Is there a good way you want people to listen to your recorded music?
I don't think there's a particular way. I mean, I know for me, if I'm going to listen to some good music, I want a good sound system.
Yeah.
I want a comfy couch. I want a nice glass of wine. And I want to just close my eyes and sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah. Do you listen to an album from A to Z? Like, are you?
Totally.
Yeah.
Especially driving here.
Yeah.
I've gone through quite a few albums from beginning to end. And I love it because then you get to hear the project in its completeness. That's one thing. If if I could say, is a pet peeve of mine today. I love that music is accessible, but I mourn the fact that we're able to just pick what we want from albums rather than really listen to the project as a whole.
Yeah.
Because when artists put together projects, it's not just like, okay, a sock, a shirt, a hat, a glove. They're thinking about a concept. They're thinking about something that inspires them. So every piece on that album is part of the collective whole that they're trying to convince and give to the listener. So for me, I enjoy sitting through the whole album and hearing how they transition from one to the next, looking at the track order, looking at the album
sequence
art.
is so important.
Listening to the alternate takes. Just so you could kind of be a fly on the wall and hear what did they do different here compared to that time. Yeah.
Sweet. We're going to open the questions in a second, but I just wanted 1 second to talk about Maxine Gordon.
Oh,
Can we?
Absolutely.
Talk to me about this person in your life.
Oh my gosh, Maxine Gordon is an angel. I met her at a concert that was in celebration to Ella Fitzgerald with Brandy Younger, and she was there with her best friend, I believe it was Deidre, and it was at the Schomburg, and I sung the song "How High the Moon," and I went into like this battle with this scatting drummer. We were just kind of he's like boom, 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 boom. I was like, going back and forth, and the crowd went crazy. And at the end of the concert, I'm packing up my stuff, and this lady, she was like, "You're Camille?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." She was like, "Okay, we need to have a talk." It was her and her best friend.
Did you know who that is?
I didn't know who she was at first, and I talked to her, and then Desron kind of pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, you know that's Dexter Gordon's wife." And I was like, "Oh my God. Like, that's my saxophone hero I grew up listening to my whole life, and his wife is right there." And ever since that day, she just took me under her wing, and Daryl, and she just mentored us. She taught us the business. She taught us how to read a contract. She taught us how to put together an album. She taught us how to put together a tour, how to pitch yourself when you're trying to look for an agent, everything, how to deal with the band. Oh gosh, she had so many stories of how she dealt with Woody and Dexter and so many cats, and just helping us to understand that there's the music aspect that we all admire and we make a picture in our head from what we hear the records, but then there's the life aspect too. And she was there for us in terms of helping us navigate, okay, how do you be a band leader? How do you deal with different personalities in the band? How do you bring the music together? How do you have a band, keep the band? All those things, she just really nurtured us, and I just absolutely love her.
Amazing. It's amazing that you got to meet and become friends, and so supportive. Do we have any questions in the room for Camille? Yes, hi.
Hi.
I'm a music teacher, and I'm always looking for ways to improve what I do with my students. And you've mentioned some of your mentors and teachers. I was just wondering, do you have any advice on things? I teach the whole K-12 at a very small international school.
Oh, wow.
And I was just wondering if you have any advice for us music teachers.
Sure. Representation matters so much. So even in your classroom, have it so that there's so much diversity on those walls that students are able to see, so that they're able to at least find somebody that they can relate to or resonate with. It's critical. Playing interviews, playing concert clips, so that students can, I cannot tell you how many times randomly band teachers will hit me up like, "Hey, Camille, I just played that concert of you with the so-and-so orchestra. I just played that concert of you with your band for my young girls, and they're so excited." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you showed the babies my video."
That's so important. That's so important.
But it makes such a huge impact when the kids are able to see it manifested, because then it's like, wow, that exists. Now it exists in my mind. And then, of course, when it comes to the band, emphasizing that the young boys and young girls, they are in it together. They're a team. They're like brothers and sisters in the band, because that's really how it is in the real world. So creating that collective responsibility of, hey, if you see something that's not right and so-and-so's treating so-and-so bad, you got to stand up for her. Or say, hey, that's not fair. That's not right. Or come together and support each other, because a lot of times, especially for young girls at the age of 13, 14, 15, they're shy. The guys, they're like, woohoo, I could do anything, confidence. And the girls are like, I want to hide.
Yeah.
So you might have to find a way of just creating, whether it's activities or conversations or spaces, just for them to kind of create that level ground where they can trust each other and remind themselves of, hey, the music only sounds good if we could just be together and work together. Sure.
Wow, that was a great answer. Do we have other questions in the room? Hi, yes.
It's more of an observation. I came from Connecticut. I'm here with the Montreal Jazz Society.
Hi.
Only one in the world. Our president and another board member. But the first time I met Camille, we do a Monday night jazz.
That's right.
Honoring Paul Brown, the bass player who started originally. And we had booked Brandy Younger for a gig, and Brandy couldn't do it. So she waited a long time before she called me. I can't do it, Diane. I got the perfect person. Camille Thurman. Brandy's, word. And I mean, it was just a great show. And I think he worked with us twice.
That's right.
And then we took a jazz cruise last January, the jazz cruise.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Camille. Again, great music. One of the few, I think you might have been the only woman instrumentalist except for Renee Rosner from the Camps.
Mm-hmm.
She's there, but I don't remember any other female. Everybody else, maybe a vocalist, a couple of vocalists. Camille was great. I'm so happy to see you now because I remember we met you a long time.
Yeah.
And then I think you played twice. Came back again.
That's right.
Your husband was with you, but you were opening band way back.
Yeah, with Umoja.
Everything progressed for you. And it's just really in my heart. Thank you so much. And again, she's such a wonderful sister girl who's on a cruise. I needed some edge. You put a key in here, you got to
Sisterhood. That's
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Hi, yes. Let's start with you.
So, your advice for young vocalists
Mm-hmm.
who might not particularly play any instrument very well, how do you think go about having a strong relationship with music? And do you think it's a good idea to invest your time into an instrument even though you might be starting really late?
It's a good question.
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. As a vocalist, the instrument is here, it's internal. But the hard thing for us is when we work with instrumentalists, they have something external. So then it's like, how do I communicate what's internal with what's external if I've never had anything to relate or understand what's it like to have something external? Start with the piano. You don't have to necessarily be a virtuoso. Just play it so that you're able to identify the notes, the sounds, the confidence to be able to hear the chords and know what the chords are. And then take it another level where if you really want to develop that confidence of being able to communicate, take some basic lessons so you can know some voicings. Just so that when you're learning a song, you can learn the melody with the harmony so that you hear what it's supposed to be. You might not necessarily be able to speak and say, that's a D7 sharp 9 going to the E, but for you to be able to no, I hear something's wrong, I'm missing that voicing. Or you know what, could you voice that a little brighter? Because where you're putting it, it's in my range, and it's kind of bothering me, but I can hear what you're doing. It's the right sound, but it's just something. To be able to articulate those things it's like your power. A lot of times vocalists, they struggle because they don't have the information to be able to communicate. But if you even just can get just a little bit to be able to hear and know and get yourself familiar, it gives you the confidence to be able to talk to an instrumentalist to say, hey, this is what I need. Or, okay, what was that you did right there? Or, I like that substitution, but I think I want to sing the melody the first time with just the chords straight down. Could we save that for the solo section? Because it's kind of throwing me off. Thank you. But those kind of things, that it really matters, and it helps to give you the courage and the confidence to be able to ask what you need. Yeah.
You had a question?
My name is Onish. I represent artists and a couple of other artists. I'm from Congo.
Oh, Congo.
In South Africa for many years, and now just jumping around a bit. So this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So you've obviously toured a bit in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously your music aligns a lot with a lot of local talents in the different countries in Africa.
Yeah.
What are your plans, or do you have any plans at all for collaborations with
Yeah.
artists, particularly emerging artists? Because you know there's not a lot of lights on African artists,
Mm-hmm.
especially those that are emerging.
Mm-hmm.
You know, out here. So, do you have any plans or anything like that? And also, on the second part, the synesthesia thing,
Mm-hmm.
I only learned a little bit about it from my daughter, who's also the artist.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's nice that you mentioned it, but is there a place where people like us, if a manager or agent or whatever, can learn also more about it? Because that's such a beautiful thing. But we
Yeah.
don't understand it. Yeah.
You're right. I wanted to talk more about it, but we didn't have time. But yeah, thank you, Ange.
Yeah. To answer your first question, I'm always open to working on collaborations with different artists. When we toured Africa, I remember we were in Mozambique, and we had a jam session, and some of the local musicians were playing, and me and the band were looking at each other, and we were like, that kind of sounds like the blues. Even though our experience is separated by thousands of miles, there's something that we identify in them and that they identify in us that's common, that we could relate. And I remember we got on stage and we played, and it wasn't a conversation. We just sat in and just played, and it just happened. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences in the world, because it was just like, wow, it doesn't matter where your background is. It's really about, are you open to hearing? Do you see a part of yourself and hear a part of yourself in the music? Go find it. And it just came together. One of my favorite collaborations was I remember Duduzo Makatini. He's from South Africa. We did a concert together with the Jazz and Lincoln Orchestra, and I remember we stole like 5 minutes just to kind of play. And I'll never forget just playing with him. I was like, man, I hear so much how you're inspired by McCoy, but it's you. And it was so exciting. And then he was kind of like, yeah, I hear some things that's you, but I hear some people back at home. And it was the coolest experience to just play and make music together and appreciate what each person's bringing to the table. So yeah, I'm always open. Whatever capacity, I'm always open. In terms of synesthesia and perfect pitch, it's interesting because I never really learned how to use it until I was much older. Because when you first have it, it's almost like target practice. You hear something, you see it. Oh, that's A. Oh, that's B. Oh, that's C. But in the world of jazz, we're dealing with harmony moving all the time and function. So the target practice, it's nice, but the information's going by so fast that you need something to quantify it in a larger capacity, but in a quicker amount of time. So it wasn't until I started checking out pianists did I really start understanding the sound and what they mean and how they work together. So if she's starting to have that now, encourage her to check out piano players, guitarists, people from other instruments, because there's things that we could learn from. A lot of times with the voice and with the horn, it's a linear world. We don't deal with 2-3 sounds at the same time. So we have to make an effort to learn how to get comfortable in that world that exists outside of ours. So that might help. There is a book that was written about synesthesia. I can't think of the name right now, but there are some books out there that talk about this. And then, of course, talking to people with it too helps, because then you realize, whoa, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And then you start to see, like, well, wait, I hear that sound this color, and this person, like, yeah, well, I hear it as brown, or I hear it as green. And you're like, wait a minute, how did that? But having conversations really helped. I know for me, especially even when it dealt with pitch, there's something with the universe that shifts every, I think, couple of thousand years of magnetism. So, and it's recorded in rocks. I learned this in earth science. And sometimes with perfect pitch, you might hear things absolutely spot on, but then sometimes it might resonate a couple of cents sharp or a couple of cents flat. And you're resonating as it's absolute, even though it's like, well, technically it's a couple of cents sharp or flat. But I never really realized this until I had a conversation with Wallace Roney. And he was like, yeah, that happens. So there's all these little quirks with it, but talking with other people who have it helps because it opens your mind. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned as a young girl how you tried to hide your singing abilities so that you didn't seem like a singer.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get over that, and how did you start incorporating your voice on the singing stuff?
I kind of did it accidentally. Because as I was playing, I was singing the lines that were transcribed. And when I would learn the lines, I was trying to match as close as I could to the inflection and the feeling of the shape and the sounds of the line. So in doing that, I found the syllables that worked for me. Not that I was intentionally trying to learn how to scat, it just kind of happened in how I was transcribing. I recommend to vocalists all the time, when you're listening to something, try to listen to it for the shape, for the feel, because then the syllables will fall into place to be able to know instinctually what works and what doesn't. Certain syllables are restrictive, certain syllables have more fluidity. But again, transcribing helps because then it helps us to understand the language in terms of the phrases and all those things, so that we're able to kind of find for ourselves the bits and pieces of the puzzle that works for us to be able to articulate it organically. Yeah.
I had a question about Montreal, but what you just said, tell me, I heard about your start at playing flute and sax.
Mm-hmm.
What was the starting point for you as a singer? Because I understand that you were a singer and you did that. So what was the starting point as a child, I guess?
Yeah, as a child. So my mother, she directed a choir in a church. And she had me right next to her hip at 4 years old singing. My earliest experiences of learning music was at the church. And then she introduced me to Ella Fitzgerald and so many other great vocalists. And when I started playing the saxophone, I would go to the library to take out CDs. So I would take out 20 CDs one day, listen to all of them, go back the next day, take another 20 out.
Yeah.
This is pre-Napster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember just accidentally stumbling upon Sarah, Ella, Ernestine. I gravitated towards Sarah just because I felt there was something inside her voice that I really could relate to. And they say the number one thing students do always is mimic. That's how you learn. Because it's almost like when you're imitating, there's things you're developing and figuring out as you go along. And she was like literally my teacher in my head at 13, 14 years old. How to phrase, how to taper your notes, how to sustain them, how to shape your phrases. And I was learning without realizing I was having fun, but learning. And as I got older, I was still singing, but I never like publicly sat and say, okay, I'm gonna go sing a song until I was about 22 in college. Because I always thought, if you're gonna learn something, learn it in its entirety. Don't say, well, yeah, I do this and I do that, but then also be kind of And I knew that, okay, well, I committed myself to playing the horn. I know I could sing, but the same commitment in terms of the steps that I took for saxophone, I didn't do it voice. So I can't say I'm a singer.
Yeah.
But then I realized, talking to my mentors, they were like, well, you did. While you were learning all those records, all the things that you're doing naturally, that was part of the process. And it is possible to learn two different instruments and have two completely different paths in terms of how you discover how to do the instrument. And when I got into college, that gave me the experience of, okay, putting it all together. How do I phrase? How do I pace myself with the melody? How do I embellish without getting myself in a hole? How do I stay true to the melody, but also tell the story? What can I do with the words in terms of stretching them or compressing them? How do I pace myself in terms of the phrasing, laying back, pushing forward, the timing in relation to the lyrics and the timing of the story? All those things. And then, of course, the improvisation, because I played, it helped because I understood the relationship of the harmony and phrasing. So it was almost like it kind of just came into being. And then my mentor, she threw me out there on the stage and was like, you need to just do it. So it was literally just like, she grabbed me from here and put me there.
Did you have a moment, sorry to interrupt, did you have a moment where you were like, oh, that sounds like something that I've heard so many times in church?
Yeah, because you realize it's one and the same.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about Black music, it all comes from the same source. So the same ebb and flow that you feel in jazz is the same ebb and flow in the church.
So you were connecting the dots.
Yeah. So it's almost like it's like second nature because it's something, it's like home.
Yeah.
So you hear and feel it.
Since you're a baby.
Yeah. And it was just a matter of, okay, put it to practice. How do you stand on stage? How do you sing the melody and support yourself with your air? How do you pace yourself with telling a story, with volume, with color? Intention, all those things. And that took years. But eventually you find your rhythm or your way of expressing yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a vocalist, I'm kind of like an amateur singer-songwriter. When is it too late to start something professionally versus just having it as a hobby?
It's never too late.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I stopped myself at 17, 18, and now I'm in my almost mid-40s, and I'm like, but I want to do music, so.
Yeah. It's never too late. My mom, she played piano and sung since I was a kid. And, parents, they get busy with raising kids and life. And she wanted to get into singing. And I saw how she made a huge sacrifice, not always being able to go out and go to sessions and sing and whatnot, because she was taking care of me. And it's funny because almost 20 years later, when I got into playing and singing, my mom, she was like, I think I want to get back into it. But for a second, she was scared because she was like, well, I don't want people to be like, you're Camille's mom. And I was like, Mom, that's your journey. And it was, I remember we did a jam session together. It was an International Women in Jazz jam session.
wow.
And she got up and sung. And I got to play. And I was like, it was like one of the happiest moments in my life. Because I was like, Mom is doing it. Go, Mom, do it. And then she asks me questions all the time. She asks me questions like, hey, so I'm studying this song. It Had to Be You. What version should I check out?
Wow.
And the same thing I tell my students, okay, we'll find 3 versions.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the phrasing. And we'll be cutting up, some garlic or cooking in the kitchen. And we're talking about different ways of approaching the song. She'll send me little audio clips of, here I was at the session last night. I'm like, good, Mom, you're doing good.
That's nice. I will add as someone from the industry, there's no such thing as too late.
It's never too late.
Yeah, keep doing your thing if it makes you feel good. Just do it. Just listen to this inner voice, find your tribe, just go to open mics, meet people, play with people. I mean, again, I'm not a musician, so I don't want to, but
You're right,
we see that, and labels don't really look at the ID first, saying like, when did you start? No. No, have fun. Like, if it's something that the way you talk about it also sounds like something that you really want to do, so do it.
Yeah. And you'll find there's a whole community of other musicians like you who are on the same path, figuring it out.
There's a question here.
Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and generosity. I'm obsessed with understanding how people, they basically make themselves great. In Kierkegaard, the Norwegian philosopher, says that we must live life moving forward, but it only makes sense looking backward. And, I'm wondering, for you in your life, when you look back at it, what do you think made you go from good to being one of the greatest at what you're doing? What are some of these key points which made you separate you perhaps from the sea of goodness?
I wouldn't say I'm one of the greatest. I'm still figuring this out, man. It's a lifetime journey. I will say experiences, they do shape you. Even the ones that are ugly, that we hate, that make us feel uncomfortable, and we're just like, oh, do I really have to do this? Yes, you have to learn this lesson. Oh, I don't want to learn this lesson. Yes, you have to. Those things, they really shape you. All those challenges and difficulties, whether it's musically, whether it's dealing with people, everything shapes you because there's something to learn that makes you a better musician, but most importantly, a better human being.
Mm.
And 95% of the time, people who work and are those musicians that people call all the time, part of it is because of their ability, but a big factor is also because of how they are as a person. Like, man, they're just great to work with. I love their spirit. I love their energy. And I feel like I could be having a bad day and I get in the room with them and now I want to play.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it.
What do you think when it comes to like doubling of different instruments? I think I play alto, tenor, and clarinet now.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to separate between them.
Yeah.
So you get, your tendencies on them, and when you try, you're focusing on clarinet or whatever, and then some of the things translate onto your sax. You're like, how do you separate them?
Yeah, so you have to set that discipline from the very beginning of treating each instrument as its own entity, especially for the woodwinds. For me, because I was doing voice and woodwinds, it was really important because I had to make sure that I'm maintaining a level where I'm growing, because sometimes there might be inconsistencies where with one instrument it might be here, but the other instrument is here, but then you got to go do that gig, and those inconsistencies, they show and pop out. So having a routine is great. I always say start with the foundation, the fundamentals. Since you're dealing with the woodwinds, having good sound production, having a good embouchure for the flute, being able to do those long tones so that at command, you're able to start your sound and end the sound when you want, where you want to put it. Also having an air support to keep the sound sustained.
Mm.
It's the same thing for voice too. Having your air support so that it's controlled and you're able to expel that air over a period of time for that one note. And can you keep it in tune? Can you keep it full but not forced? For clarinet, it's a whole nother world because now we're dealing with a different embouchure. So you can't do what you do on saxophone on clarinet because articulation-wise, there are little different things that you kind of have to learn for the clarinet. One thing I would say, get a teacher for that specific instrument that deals with it as a primary instrument, because you don't want to develop bad habits and then later on have those habits hold you back that keep you from growing. So get a good clarinet teacher, or get a good flute teacher, or get a saxophone teacher, just to deal with just the instrument. And then you have these routines to help you develop that so that you're getting a good path and keeping a good sound, execution of technique. And then, okay, then you start to mix and mingle. All right, well, let me practice some of those bird exercises on clarinet. It feels like God knows what. But it'll push you outside the box and help you get your technique together. Or, okay, let me listen to that vocal song and see if I can mimic the melody on my flute with the same inflection, with the vibrato or whatnot. That will kind of help you get it cleaned up and have a good foundation.
We have time for one more. Hi.
Yes, we crossed paths at the Vermont Jazz Center. You were an instructor. Really appreciate it. I have fallen into circumstance where I now am the band leader for a monthly community jazz jam, and we have participants with vast differences in ability. Some of them are just beyond beginners, picking up an instrument after being away for 20 years, and others who can read anything you put in front of them. And I just wanted to get your thoughts about the use of jazz, conducting a jazz jam, the use of the jazz jam as a tool in that context.
Yeah, well, the jazz jam is your first community you're going to deal with. I think the biggest thing is having that person that navigates the community and keeps the balance or keeps the peace is essential. When I was coming up, there was always that, I guess you could say, the gatekeeper, or that person who, which would be you, who played with the cats, who understand what are the absolute necessary things that are essential for making a successful song happen. Entrances, intros, the exits, the endings, and making sure that we're respecting the music and performing it in the way it should be. And then if a mistake happens, creating at the same time a safe learning space where it's like, okay, well, hold on, let's try to get that right, so that they know in the moment. Don't just like, oh, womp womp. No, this music is a powerful music. Let's get it right and give it the respect it needs. So let's learn how to cue. Let's learn how to end it. Or okay, well, let's learn that intro. What are the chords? Can you tell me the chords? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, so-and-so, you know the chords. Let's help each other. Doing those things, it creates a community vibe, because then it eliminates the feeling of, okay, I got to show my stuff. I'm here at a jam session.
Right.
To more like, okay, I'm trying to just get it. So if you have some information and you know it, I'm not going to try to fake it like I know it when I know I don't. So let me humble myself. I'm willing to listen. Let's create this space where we're all able to help each other and have a successful session. Yeah.
Camille, thank you so much.
My
pleasure. Was great and inspiring. And thank you to you all for being here. And thank you to the Festival International de Jazz de Montréal for having us. You're playing tomorrow at 8
o'clock.
8. Be there.
Stage.
And I see you soon.
See you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.